Again, my name is Christina Collier, and I'm super excited to be joined by our next Fireside Chat guest, Laurens Groenendijk. We're going to talk about trends in marketplaces, as I mentioned. And Laurens, you have co-founded Just Eat, Tradewell, I would have to look here, there's a lot, Minto Benelux, and you've taken all those learnings as a multi-exited entrepreneur. Now you're moving that, applying it to the venture capital space. You're a co-founding partner or founding partner at Dutch Founders Fund, a venture fund that backs founders building the marketplaces of the future.
Yeah.
Actually, my first C-level role was at PeerBee, a peer-to-peer circular economy marketplace.
Yeah. Congrats on the funding today.
Oh, you saw that?
Yeah.
I was very happy,
Yeah.
yes. Still a shareholder, so I love that. But yeah, so marketplace dynamics were underpinning the usage of our platform, and I will say that it felt like a very hard nut to crack. So I am that was in 2015 when I left to co-found my startup, but I'm super interested to hear your views on the evolution of marketplaces trends in the classified space. Let's start with that.
Yeah. So, of course, a long time ago, it all started with the traditional classified business. But eventually, right now, we see a big trend in make this marketplace really smart. To get all the friction, all the pain points that are in the market, on the marketplace, to get rid of them, basically. So we see a lot of embedded technology going into the marketplace to eventually get a frictionless transaction. That's also, let's say, a really big step forward. Instead of, let's say, making the connection on the marketplace, now it's all about the transaction on the marketplace.
So meaning when you say embedded technology, meaning instead of going to an external provider to process the transaction, that they're doing it in their platform? Is that an example of embedded tech?
Yes, but if you can imagine when you have to ship something, you need the logistics. And you can say, okay, there's a transaction, but here's your other problem. Ship it from one to another.
Yeah.
So you see this kind of logistics technologies going into the marketplace. But a really, really big trend, of course, is the financial technology. So especially in marketplaces when the sell side of the market really need their money straight away. For example, freelancer, he's doing his job and he's waiting for 60, 90 days for the money. So when the platform can really support the straight payout to the sell side, you see more and more of those orders for the sell side coming into the marketplace. So you create a kind of a network effect from the sell side. So that's a really big trend, and of course it also counts for, let's say, the buy side, or basically the buy side of the market. They want to extend their payment terms, and therefore you see now the big trend of the buy now pay later options in the markets. We are not very clear now if there is what the winner will be. Is it, let's say, the more broader buy now pay later options, or the specific ones that really know what's happening in the market? So it's interesting space. And of course, you have got all those insurance products that are coming into the market, and it's really cool to see. Last week in Egypt, we did an investment in Egypt, where there was a big classified business, and was a lack of trust. So OLX is active in Egypt, Facebook Marketplace, but they couldn't get a real liquidity on the market. So this company added a trust layer in the classified business with a physical shop that works as an inspection point, but also pick up and drop off. So you see a lot of development in getting the trust on the marketplace back.
I will just interject with my own very, very quick anecdote that I have an Urban Arrow. At one point, my Bakfiets Urban Arrow was stolen. We ended up buying a new one. 3 months later, the police come knocking on our door. They found our Bakfiets. And the story was that the thief sold it on Marktplaats
Yeah.
to an unsuspecting buyer who had this sort of proof of purchase that it was all legit, and they brought it into to fix it at a Zwarte Fietseplein, which is where we had bought it and reported it stolen. So when they noticed that there was sort of something wrong with the serial number, that triggered the whole process. So it would be interesting in those sort of scenarios to have that inspection and immediately realize it's stolen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's also for the marketplace a nice extra selling point,
Yes.
of course, and make a little bit margin, because most of the times classifieds are zero commission-based companies.
This person lost the 4,000 euros that they paid to the thief.
Oh, yeah.
Because they ruled in our favor that it was still our bakfiets. So that would have saved that person 4,000 euros.
Or you have to move to Egypt.
Or move to Egypt, right. But super interesting to hear that insurance is adding that trust layer. So maybe shifting a bit from the large classified space, there's also another trend of emerging ecosystems where more specific categories like design products or clothing, there's these very defined platforms and marketplaces. Do you consider these to be the marketplace of the future?
Yes, we think so. So it's all started, of course, with the horizontal marketplaces, and now you see kind of companies like Vinted is taking a big vertical, or the Kazoo, or this kind of companies, or Auto 1, for example, taking, let's say, the car vertical from the traditional classified businesses and make them a really good business. So, but it's and there are niches, but they're really, really big niches.
Yeah.
So that's more on the consumer side. Of course, that will go on. And perhaps eventually will be again horizontal when all the technologies are in the main portal. So especially we invest in also a little B2B marketplaces. So for example, in the wood industry, that the construction company can buy directly their wood from the sawmill. And in order to fulfill that transaction, you really have to get some knowledge about the product. Also, it's hard for the logistics part also to really grade the wood from the origin. So we see the big trend, especially B2B marketplace, that the niche is the way to go. Although you see a lot of money going into companies like Casuno. They do, I think, 500 million on GMV in 1.5 years on more the wider building materials. But I think I'm a believer of, let's say, getting these niches of these really, really big markets and be the number one and have also the knowledge to be the number one to fulfill that transaction.
Interesting. I have so many more questions, but we only have 12 minutes.
Let's go.
Sorry. I'll catch you on a coffee afterwards. But maybe shifting gears for this last question, because I feel like it would be remiss if we didn't tap into some of your expertise, having been navigating boards from early stage all the way through to IPO. Given the shifting environment right now for founders in the economic landscape, do you have any tips on how founders can best leverage their board to navigate these periods of uncertainty or change?
Yeah, I think most startups are still early stage, so the board members are, I think, also most of the time the shareholders of the company.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think they're quite aligned. So again, I think in B2B marketplaces, it really solves a problem. It brings really value to the market. So I wouldn't be too scared when you really solve a problem. These days, and with B2B, you don't have a lot of customer acquisition costs most of the time. So I think in our part of the business, I don't see any real problems other than trying to get the company to the surface. But we have some companies that are, let's say, a little bit in a squeeze, where we have the opportunity to make it profitable, or now doing a bridge round, and then we decide to make it profitable right now. And the beauty, of course, is that competition will not get any funding, especially when it's just in an idea phase. So it's hopefully the time is not over the 2 years, but then it's also an opportunity to grab market share for the next coming 2 years. And yes, it's going a little bit slower, but that's fine. But then you have, let's say, 2 years head start on your competition. So I think see it also a little bit opportunistic and positive. And when you really need to become in a fundraise mode, I think what we see now literally is extensions of last rounds.
Yeah.
But even that are really, really hard.
Yeah.
Especially when the cost base is a little bit too high. And the last few weeks you hear a lot of the burn rate ratio that wasn't there for a year ago. And of course the burn rate ratio is if you want to put to add 1 million ARR on turnover, you can at maximum lose, let's say, 1 million on it. So then your burn ratio is 1. That's fine. So there are ways, but again, when you solve a real problem, I don't think it should be in a difficult situation.
And in those cases, I guess, are you helping, or have you had founders reaching out to you for some advice or guidance on how they can best exploit this opportunity, perhaps, and wind up taking as much market share as possible before the other entrants focus on the same?
Not really, but
Okay.
I think let's say for us, of course, the dilution part is a big part. So we, from one of our portfolio companies, from a US investor, it's a UK-based company. 25% dilution is now the standard. 3 weeks ago it was 20, now it's 25. If they already, let's say, want to invest.
Interesting.
So I think that's a really big change. But for us, it's more, let's say, more long-term and building a sustainable company. And when it's in the, let's say, in the real genes of the company, then I think it will be fine.
I think that's also one of the benefits of Dutch Founder Fund, having been entrepreneurs themselves, and you understand these different cycles and have a maybe more long-term approach to your relationships with the founders. Yeah. So good for your portfolio companies. Okay. But yeah, thank you so much, Laurens. It's been really insightful, and hope you're able to enjoy some of the other conversations today.
Okay.
And I think you've got some team members here as well.
Yes, we have got some team members in the back.
Yeah, learn more if you're a marketplace company.
We're prime time there, so please
come visit.
Come visit. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.